The new Ableton Live 12.1 update has massively improved the workflow on the Ableton Push 3. If we go to our settings, we have a new tab up here which says Hotspot. It creates its own Wi-Fi hotspot so you can easily transfer files and projects from your computer to Ableton Live. You simply look at the network name and the password here. You go into your computer here, go to the Wi-Fi, type in this password. Now if we go down to the push option here, you can see push is loaded. So now let's transfer a file to work on the push 3. So I'm going to my desktop and drag this across to my push, projects, continue. Now that file's been transferred across, you probably want to start rearranging some of the tracks and the scenes and just having a jam with it. Now this was one of the problems on the Push 3 standalone. We actually couldn't move the tracks around. It's crazy to think this wasn't a feature that was on the initial launch of the Push 3, but at least we have it now. How we do this is we simply click on the track we'd like to move. It says turn the jog wheel to move the track name, and then we move it to the right or to the left. Also, we can do the same thing with scenes. So if we have a scene here and we'd like to move this elsewhere, I can simply click and hold, pull the scene down or up. Now, the only bad thing about that is when you press down, as you heard, it launches the scene. Maybe this is an update Ableton will do in the future where if you click and hold the scene, it won't launch it and you can move it around. Once you've then organized your track and arranged it, you probably want to start adding some audio effects and some instruments to your project. If I go to device view here and I'll click on my master track and I'm going to press the plus sign here to add some audio effects. So I'm just going to go to device, audio effects. Now, if you notice here, we have a new filter tab at the top here. If I click this, we can use filters just like we do in Ableton Live 12. This is where Live assigns filters to different sounds, samples, and devices to help you speed up your search. Now, if I want to find some reverbs, I can go down here, find reverb. Now, another neat thing is we can save that search as well. So if I press right here, I can go create label from filters. Boom, like that. Now on the root of the menu here, I now have a saved search. So I can click on that and it just has all my reverbs. This new update is a massive time saver. Thank you, Ableton. Now that you've added some instruments and devices, probably going to want to start launching some clips and scenes and controlling all the encoders and jamming your tune. Now, one of the main problems with the Push 3 was this thing called select on launch. And as default, it was turned on the Push 3 and we couldn't turn it off. Let me show you what it is. So if I'm jamming away in this tune and I want to do a filter but also launch a new clip, watch what happens. Let's start filtering it out. Come to launch a new clip. Where's it gone? As soon as I launch this clip or press any of the empty clip slots or clips on this track or any tracks, it will select that track on launch. So then I can't control the audio effects. So annoying. Especially for live, this was super annoying. You'd have to get an additional MIDI controller. Well, now they fixed it. You go to your settings, you'll notice you have a new preferences tab. We have the workflow options here to work in clip or scene. Now we have the option to turn off exclusive arm, exclusive solo. So I generally like having those off. And then here is our select on scene launch. So if we turn that off, let's come out of here and let's try the same thing again. Let's go to our master track. Let's adjust this frequency and let's do our little drop. Whoa, so hopefully you're seeing the potential that this new update has. Just seeing this is sparking all these ideas in my head of how you could have groups of effects on different channels or even have a bunch of effects on the master and be doing drops and builds right from the Push 3. Now, another problem with the Push is when you start adding multiple effects, we have to jump through pages, meaning the encoders at the top here will do different things. That's super annoying. But now there's another update that will help us. We now have the ability to put things in audio effects racks or group them directly on the Push 3 standalone. So let me add another audio effect here and show you how this works. So I'm going to go to collections, audio effects. I'm going to get rid of my filter here. I'm going to press clear. So what happened there was because we applied a filter previously, it remembered the filter. So I went into the filter section here and pressed clear, and that got rid of that filtered section. So now I should have all my devices up here. I'm just going to scroll through and find echo, press OK, and load that on. So now I have 2 pages. If I hold Shift and click on Auto Filter, then click on any other audio effects I would like in that group, and then press Group, it now puts them in an audio effects rec, and you have a bunch of macros that you can assign to any parameters in any one of those audio effects and have them on the same page. Awesome. Okay, so let's go and map some macros. Auto Filter, I'm going to map this frequency. How I do this is simply turn the dial. If you notice down here, it says map. I'm going to press that, then touch the macro I'd like it to map to, and it's done. And then I go done. Then I'm going to choose one in echo. So I'm going to do the dry wet. It's the same thing again. And touch macro 2. Done. So I'm going to go to global and find the reverb decay. Now you can see if I wanted to do that live, that's a lot of menu diving. So this new feature where we can map things to the macros is such a lifesaver. So here we go. I'm just going to turn it a little bit, press map, do it to macro 3. Done. Okay, so now if I go back to the audio effects rec so I can see those macros there on the page. Now if I turn one here, I have a little edit dial that turns up here. I can press this and I can go in and edit all the individual macros here. Now you can adjust the start point. Also, you can adjust the max minimum. Delete the macro right in here. Also, you can rename it up here so you can call it whatever you want. Okay, so let's try that build again with all these macros. I'm just going to reset these all back to 0 and let's bring that in. Did you see there, when I initially brought the drop in, my hands were tripping over themselves to try and get all those dials back to 0. Slightly frustrating. So there's another thing that can help us with this workflow, and that is having macro variations. Now, if I just hold my finger on here, you can see I have a little sub menu pop up here of add variation. Now what I want to do is I want to create a variation where everything goes back to 0. So I can turn all the dials up, press my variation, and it all goes back to 0. So I put these all the way back to 0, like that. Touch this and add variation. Now, if I go through and scroll, go to that variation, tap right, I can rename it, delete it, or overwrite it. So I'm going to press rename. Done. There we go. So I have 0 here. So let's do that again and use this variation to reset our effects. We're going to turn our dials up like this, get them to a value. I'm going to launch the scene. I'm going to hover my finger here on the jog wheel, and as soon as I press that, it's going to set the variation back to whatever you set it to. It remembers where you last were, but if you on add variation, you put your finger down there, you go to add variation. So just make sure you're there. If not, you can scroll through in the moment. That's a bit risky life. So just remember, while you're setting this up, get in the habit of set it up like that and just be on the variation that you want to launch next. Let's bring this in. So I'm going to increase the effects. Get ready to launch. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh man, that is awesome. You're going to have so much fun experimenting with that live and in clubs and festivals. Just bringing that filter up, tapping that jog wheel, boom, dropping the beat back in. Now, if you'd like to learn how to make this song here, I have a video that shows you how to do it. Also, if you'd like to learn how to become a complete push ninja, I have a full Ableton Push 3 course, which you can find out more details about here.